Welcome in to yet another tour. In fact, the penultimate tour in our Farewell to City Skylines series. We're going through each of the different builds that I have done in City Skylines 1 in anticipation of the less than a month release of City Skylines 2. This one is a special one because this one is going to take us all the way back. The very first city that I ever built. This was supposed to be a one-off stream that I was doing on a random Wednesday night or something like that. Somebody in the community had requested it, and lo and behold, over 2 years later, I have been playing City Skylines every day on Wednesday nights on stream, and a lot of time spent off-stream playing as well. So this city is where it all started. Welcome to the tour of my original city, my almost exclusively vanilla city, New Moose City. We are here in New Moose City. This is the interchange. Everyone, I feel like, remembers that moment when you first played Cities Skylines and you start in your starting square and you're on vanilla and there's nothing but road right here and you have to create the entrance to your city. This is the spot where everything began for me in my City Skylines journey. I'm excited to show you around my city. As you can see, we ended up at 108,000 people in the city, so that went pretty well. And I will again reiterate, this city is basically exclusively vanilla. I don't think there are any assets in this city, and the only mods that I introduced were TMPE and Move It. And that was like probably during, I would argue that like 80 to 85% of this build was done with absolutely no mods at all. And I loaded into a save file from way back. It still worked because it's mostly vanilla. So I'm excited to be able to give you a tour of the city. You'll see kind of the themes that evolved, and obviously you'll see how my build style kind of came to be as well through this. I'm gonna hit the play button and hope that there's not lag while we're doing the tour. We'll see how that goes. But this was our original interchange right here leading into the city. We actually split everything off into kind of two one-ways with a ton of lanes. I don't know if any of these ever really got utilized. I think it got stacked up quite a bit to start with. But you can see we ended up creating kind of a nice kind of park entrance. Some of our old power stuff is in the horizon. You can see the skyline that kind of started to take shape. This is actually a pretty cool view of the city as it expanded out and the skyline starts to take shape. This was a lot of fun. As I remember kind of getting started on this build, we came in, we split everything off into our original residential district over here. And then we have the start of our industrial zone over here. You'll notice that all of our districts are aptly named after, I believe it's all television shows. It started out as all sitcoms, and we expanded it out to all television shows. So Fullest House is kind of our original area where we came off. One of the reasons for that is because all of the names have some sort of inspiration to them, but this actually randomly happened. Right? I did mark some of these as historic as it went, but I noticed that this was happening as things were kind of progressing, and so we actually ended up with a row of, you know, what, like San Francisco-esque. They're not really, right? But as close as you're going to get with vanilla buildings. That ended up just this row of houses that I was like, it's kind of cool. It's like slightly on a hill. It feels kind of San Francisco, feels kind of Fullest House, or Full House, and so we named it Fullest House. Over here is one of our only districts that is actually not named after a television show, Piaville. And Piaville was designed and inspired by one of, like, basically the original member of our community who told me, you need to play City Skylines on stream. And so Piaville lives on in history through this. It's where I was first introduced to one-way streets, and we did some one-way roads through here. Even though I don't know one-way streets at all because of where I live, where other people live, there's lots of one-way streets. So you can kind of see how Piaville took shape, and everything was very gridded at this point. We also had the It's Always Cloudy district, which is where all of our garbage started to take place. All of our industry was taking place. We had our original kind of power, which I left remnants of kind of throughout the city to we didn't want to demolish everything. So we've got all of that going on in the It's Always Cloudy district. You can see kind of the main roads that started to form, main avenues down through the town that really split off from that original spawn point, right? Which we split into kind of two main roads that run down and then split off. We've got a lot of this going on. We ended up with a lot of bridges crisscrossing this road. There was just simply too many intersections. It was interrupting traffic a lot. I think we're actually sitting right here in this game. We're at 79% traffic, which I'm actually pretty proud of, especially straight vanilla with just TMPE and Move It added at the end. So we've got that going on. As we head into nightfall, this will be a wonderful time to go into our first look at kind of our downtown area. As everything started to progress, we needed bigger buildings. And the community also complained that everything was too gridded. There were too many squares. So I created the Central Perk District, and it was a big square, but everything inside of it was circles. And these were kind of our first initial downtown area. So circles were introduced at that point in the thing. We also ended up with McLaren's downtown, and if you can catch the reference there, congratulations to you. McLaren's downtown was kind of settled in off of the Central Perk District, where the downtown area kind of continued to expand out with all of our high-density things. It was approximately at this point that we started to reach need for additional entrance points into the city, and so this was created. This interchange here was laid down, and we created kind of a river run road, a lakeshore boulevard, if you will, if you're a Hardy Boys fan. And so we created this beautiful roundabout. I don't actually think this was a roundabout initially, but it became a roundabout. And then we created our lakeshore boulevard, shoots its way right down the river, which is, I found this to be kind of fun. It also created kind of a valley here, which was, it created some interesting things. All of our original water and electricity, in fact, all of it pretty much all still comes from this space right here. Again, this was where we started, right? So we were trying to find a spot for all this where we could find, you know, good utility access through all of those things. So we built Lakeshore Boulevard, which obviously created some fascinating ways to kind of jump in and do some different things as far as connecting our town together and expanding things. That led us to the DJ Roomba Center and Swanson Meadows, and as we kind of progressed through, we realized that parks were probably an important part of what we needed to have in the city, so we started adding parks and different things into the city as we progressed in. This was really kind of the end of my original build. When we stopped building on this city for the first time, we kind of stopped at this juncture here, right? We had all of this kind of cutting off to here, the It's Always Cloudy district. We ended up expanding out even further because offices became a thing, and so we had to have offices. So the That's What She Said district showed up. These are all office buildings primarily that function, and we created, of course, another entrance to the city here on the far side that gave us access into kind of a secondary main road that really cut through kind of the downtown area. This was a highly trafficked, one-of-a-kind creation. I invented this. I don't know what this is. It's a half roundabout that actually goes in both directions some ways, which look, the traffic seems to be flowing through a little tower in there, right? And it seemed to work pretty well. Obviously you can see traffic is actually flowing like pretty okay throughout most of the city. Runs right past the old industrial zone. So that's where kind of our office district came into play. And then eventually we expanded out into I Love Moosey, which is just another residential district, and then Moose's Creek, which is actually pretty heavily commercial. You'll notice a lot of the large-scale malls and things from a shopping complex standpoint ended up kind of coming into this section here as we pulled Moose's Creek together to kind of fill out kind of our original square here is really what all of that ended up being. Eventually, we decided to take on more interesting things, and we decided that we needed to go across the river because everything was so gridded that we needed something a little different. And of course, it couldn't be done in a normal way, and so we created, and if I jump into the road view here, we should be able to see if we page down into underground. Here is our channel. we created a channel that flows underneath the river. This was a feat of engineering. I will remind you, I did not have Move It at the time when I created this. So this was created just pure vanilla. And so, again, we created a couple roundabouts. We put these beautiful, like, rock pillars in the middle. When I initially did this, it actually resulted in my first natural disaster, and it was like a man-made natural disaster. I flooded my entire land. We had done a ton of terrain editing all throughout this, all in pause, and never unpaused. We edited terrain for a long time, and then when we hit the play button finally, there's actually a YouTube clip of this on the YouTube channel. If you look at the city Skylines section, it flooded everything. We saved the city, most of the city, by actually digging a trench. Like, as the flood was happening, we dug a trench along here and created basically like a river where it trapped all the water, which eventually evaporated it. But it was pretty funny. And so we built this. This is our beautiful channel. Eventually, we were able to pop that up as well. There's an intersection underwater that pops up into our Battlestar Musactica section. It's a fully functioning little village, all in and of itself. All the schools, all the utilities, amenities, everything is fully functioning here in Battlestar Musactica. And you could cross the river here into the good place. This was deemed, you know, the good place because this is apparently where you had to have some money, probably, to live over here, or something, right? Lots of parks, lots of large amenities buildings. You'll see some of the museums and different things that come with vanilla are scattered throughout, and everything was done in kind of this symmetrical pattern. You can see that there were plans to expand out even more here at the good place. Those plans, I think, met just like financial troubles, probably. Actually, it's probably not true. We were making so much money in this city. I felt really good on this city playing vanilla and getting everything done the way it happened. Eventually, it was decided that the channel was probably not enough. So the first bridge, the Good Bridge was built. So you can see the Good Bridge crosses to our main pinnacle tower in the city, and then over to what we've got over here. Oh, now we have some of our, oh good, asset buildings are spawning in. So none of these were original. Those are all new assets that I've downloaded. So now we're going to have those popping up all over the city. So slightly less original than it may have otherwise been if I wouldn't have hit play. But everything was the right size. These are all not original to the build. Okay, so anyway, we did all that. We built yet another bridge because traffic became hefty going across both of those bridges. So we built a bridge here, and we built another channel. So there is a second channel that flows underneath here from here to here. That was, again, another large undertaking. So there's a lot of ways to get across into the good place back and forth now. This is a hugely residential area, so a lot of the population actually lives in the good place and commutes across the river, which created a lot of interesting things. We have fully functioning ferry lines that cross through and get people from one to the other. We also started putting in metro and different things. We can go take a quick peek at our metro system. You can see it kind of underneath there. If we actually go to our metro here, it doesn't actually highlight it, but you can kind of get a feel. You get a feel for the metro. It's a little bit crazy to start, and then we ended up with more kind of inline metro things going on. So metro, definitely something that we put in. And then we put in a large monorail system. So we have a large monorail network that connects up the city into different sections. So there's a monorail that brings you across here, and then there's monorails actually that run all throughout the good place. So the good place is fully serviced by monorail on most of the major roads. So you can see both of these roads are fully monorailed all the way out to the other side. So you can get by monorail. You can also travel into the main city. As we expanded and acquired different DLCs, Moose World was created. And of course, the main attraction in Moose World is indeed the moose pens. And we have, I think some of the moose are named, but I can't remember which ones or if that's still... There's Maddish Moose right there. There we go. A couple of them are named, I believe. I'm looking. There's a Canadian Moose underscore. I don't even know who that is anymore. You know, I mean, I know a Canadian Moose plays, but I'm not sure who a Canadian Moose underscore is. Anyway, lots of good times building our ridiculous... This is our our zoo runs straight down the middle, and then we also have our amusement park that popped up just across from that. And again, you can see future expansion was planned, continued in that direction, and we ended up putting in a lot of different things. This is the Legend, wait for it, District. And you can see we expanded. It's got like kind of all-encompassing. It functions as both kind of commercial and residential. A little bit of office here and there, but we primarily had offices in this area here. Again, parks throughout. Started placing some of the more unique buildings that popped up, the museums, the science centers, and things like that. We decided that we also needed to have different pieces of the puzzle, like this lovely castle and these beautiful, if you downgrade your roads and put these covered ones in, isn't that beautiful? I love that, so we put that in. All of our sewage flows outward in this direction, and so that was all part of the plan. We also got another bridge coming across here to help flow traffic, and I believe that there's a train line. Yes, there's a train line that runs underneath the water right here as well. So we went under the river with the train too. The trunnel, if you will. We put in an extra section of different things in order to bring in more goods to the city. We had a problem importing raw materials, basically, so we tried to bring in some more industry and then also connect that to an industrial hub. So this whole thing popped up just to deal with kind of industrial demand, and you can see that we were planning for some pretty extensive expansion in this direction. We have all of this runs and connects into the main highway system, so there actually ended up being an extra way to get into the main part of the city through here as well, and so we ended up with a lot of that coming into play towards the end. As we expanded out and got different DLCs, we started to take advantage of the lake, and we had obviously a road that ran around the lake. There was going to be a big campus here, but I never ended up getting to put it in. I didn't get the campus DLC before we kind of switched cities. But here we have the Never Have I Ever roundabouted. That was not necessarily true at the time, but we also put in this, which is our stadium, and the stadium is what really got us into putting in monorails. We monorailed out of the airport here. So again, Vanilla Airport into the stadium. You dropped off on the monorail, and the monorail will take you all the way down into the city, all the way kind of down to the kind of really downtown city center area. And so that kind of started to create, besides just our metro and our bus lines, an alternative transport method there as well. We've got some additional, again, expansion that never really ended up happening in this direction. And then our oil industry popped up, the Texas Tea section of the city. So we had an oil industry here. We expanded out to more industry here, along with our Chirper launch site in Big Bang Madness. It turns out that you also need access to lots of dirt as you're kind of starting to terraform things, and so this guy formed, which was initially completely outside of the city limits, but it ended up getting incorporated. This is just called the Pit. Jet, don't fall in to the pit. So that's the pit where we got all of our land from as we needed it. We then created a few different districts here, as you can see, in kind of unique styles. This is our farming district, and so Little Moose on the Prairie, and so these were all farms. You can see not all of them have kind of come in. We were trying to keep balance. Industries were very difficult to balance when I started doing this. In fact, I think I turned off a lot of the industries because we broke everything, because the city was like far too advanced as we kind of added those in. Anyway, so this was intention. The intention here was for this to be our farming district. It's fully functioning. It's got kind of everything you need is there. You can see traffic gets not so great out of these at this point. We also have one tree moose. This is our lumber, our forestry district. You can see set within the trees and just kind of spikes off into the forest. Look, it works. And then we have our Good Omen ores. Good Omen ores. So this is our ore section of the city. You can see we tried to make roads that contoured to the land as much as we could. So Good Omen ores kind of functions along over here. We put in, again, some like random spots where we put in some cargoes just to deal with kind of industry things. I really like the road, the big road that goes around our beautiful lake, and you could obviously look back into the city from the lake view, which is pretty nice. And that pretty much is the city. I mean, that's what we were able to build. All of the different kind of pieces of the puzzle. It was my original build, and I'm very proud of it. I still think the fact that this is fully functioning, and I started a city. I didn't look up anything about the game. I started a city. Obviously, I had the community's help as I was building it. But we really built this from the ground up, fully functioning, changed things as we needed to, never restarted. This city went for months and months and months until we got to where we are today with it, and then we started a new city based off of that. But there's so much that we did here that I learned about the game that I'm like, oh yeah, like we did that for the first time, or we like so much of that, right? Taking advantage of like making entrances to the city around in different areas. I'm very pleased with how the city turned out. I think there's some really cool views when you look like across, you know, now that actually looks really good. The couple big buildings in there really changed the view. That's why assets matter, you know, that's why the workshop is really useful. Looking back from the good place, which I think we've done already, but when you can kind of see that skyline start to take place as the sun is coming up over top of the city, it's just there's some really classic kind of things. I'm really fond of this city, and it's bringing back some really great memories, if you can't tell, of my initial time in this game and just like playing just pure vanilla. And if I'm being really honest with you, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most about City Skylines 2 here in less than a month, is just getting back to straight vanilla gameplay and being able to really just like invest in the mechanics of the game. Not worry as much about the aesthetics, particularly, right? So I'm excited to kind of play the game as it was meant to be played, with no mods, as we get into City Skylines 2. And this city reminds me a lot of, you know, what it was like and the fact you can still make something that looks really cool. I mean, I look down this main road with the bridge, bridge streets coming over. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do, like with vanilla. You don't have to have the mods and everything. So I'm really looking forward to getting into vanilla gameplay. There's a final look at New Moose City and the beauty that is New Moose City. My original build in Cities Skylines. Take one final look kind of from this space here. I think it gives a good view down the road, over the mountain, and the large downtown section we ended up having. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to the series as well. We will have one final city tour in this series, and it will be of our most recent build. So it's going to be super fun. You're going to get the juxtaposition, my very first build ever in New Moose City that we just went through, with my very most recent build, everything I've learned implemented into its city. I'm very excited to show you Moose Island, which is the final build we'll showcase here, probably just before or right after City Skylines 2 launches, as we wrap up that build on stream. If you want to join us on Wednesday nights, I stream City Skylines Wednesday nights on Twitch live, but I'll keep rolling out these videos here on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next.